Hello everyone, my name is Pixlriffs and welcome back to the Minecraft Survival Guide. I hope you guys are having a good day. We are back here in Founders Forge very briefly at the start of this episode, mostly to gather some supplies, which we're going to be using to finish off the Pillager raid farm we've been working on, and we're going to try our luck and see quite how many emeralds we can get and how many totems of undying. If we can get a perpetual raid going, I will be happy. But to start off with, I wanted to come back here just to show you that I have made a few more friends. We have a couple more in boats here. We had 2 at the last count, but I've added 3 to their number, and the third is down here in the inspection hall. I kind of like the fact that we now have a little chair for him behind one of these desks, and they are all still called friend, but thank you so much for the name suggestions in the comments. Keep them coming, especially if they are puns. I'm pretty sure at least one of these guys is going to be called Dr. Pillager or something like that, because I liked that. I thought that was pretty funny. So I think we are going to, we're going to spend a little bit of time gathering some supplies around here. I need to find my redstone box. I seem to misplace my shulker boxes quite frequently, but I think we're going to grab a few more things from here. We're going to try and set up a storage system that's going to sort out all of the drops we're going to get from the raid farm, and hopefully we should be able to see it in action today. Here we are back at our little Pillager raid capture facility place thing. Not quite sure what to call it, I guess. Pillager raid farm, that's the one. And I have a couple of things to do here, as you can see from the fact that this wall section isn't quite complete, and we still haven't figured out exactly how the mobs are going to drop down into this area down here. We've got the drop figured out, it's just how we collect them after the fact. The first task, of course, is going to be filling in these gaps in the walls, and yeah, that feels a lot better. Next up, we need to drop down here, see if there are any pillagers who have not been burned up in the lava. Nope, looks like we're okay. I did see a couple pop down here while we were up and around the top of the farm, but I need to make sure that this entire thing is filled in, which means we are probably going to have to get rid of this lava source here. Next up, we need to make sure this entire drop is filled with glass panes, just so that the pillagers don't get stuck on anything on the way down. I'll probably have to pillar up a little bit here to get the rest of this taken care of. It looks a little bit awkward right now because of all of the glass panes connecting to these blocks around here, so I'm going to do something about that. I'm probably going to decorate the outside of this tube here so that we've got something that doesn't connect, like dark oak stairs or something like that. Maybe, is considering the dark oak aesthetic of the tower is something I want to reuse for this farm. Thematically appropriate for the pillagers, I suppose. Next up, I think we need to make some changes to this, because unfortunately this isn't working as I expected it to from last time, and the pillagers are more often than not getting caught up in the lava there, which really means we're not seeing many of them dropping down the drop. And I know they are spawning up here, and they're spawning occasionally 1s and 2s around the outside. I thought that was a pillager with a banner for a second, but it was a squid. Maybe there will be a couple that will spawn around here if I fly around a little bit so I can show you. Yep, there's one, for example. Let's watch him, see if he ends up going down the pit. Thanks to the villager, at least one other pillager has already made it down there. When they get to the middle, they do just float up into the lava. They try and jump up through it, and that unfortunately kills them before they can get to the drop. So we're going to have to work out something slightly different with the lava here, I think. Let's try it with something like this. I've dug out a couple of spaces on each of the 4 sides here, making sure that there is still space for the pillagers to be propelled down off the side there. And that should mean that with a 1-block wide space, Ravagers will not be able to make it down there, and they should still end up kind of in the middle and hopefully jumping up and down on top of the water, burning themselves up in the lava in the process. That's the hope, at least. But this really does need to be here, otherwise the Ravagers are just going to block the way down into this pit that we want all the pillagers and their raid mobs to fall into, and yeah, it's going to be a little bit of a tight squeeze otherwise. Having brought the camera account in to check out what's going on here, a couple of them are still burning up in the lava. It does seem like they are coming in from the corners and they're burning up that way, but more often than not, we just don't seem to have all that many pillagers spawning on this grass area around here. And I was expecting them to spawn a little bit more frequently than this, so I think the next step is probably going to be to widen out the grass area. We really need to find a balance here, because on the one hand, we don't want the pillagers to spawn too frequently and join the raids, making it impossible to end the wave of a raid because there are so many of them. But on the other hand, we don't want so few of them that we get bad omen once every hour. So yeah, I think we should probably do a little bit to mess with this. However, we do have a pillager now. We've got a guy who manages to drop down the chute there, and a couple of hits with the sword dispatches him. Looks like we do have another guy coming over, and he's probably going to make his way into that corner. And okay, they are definitely hitting the lava source a little bit less, which is perfect. and hopefully this should be enough fall damage for some of the other mobs to die a little quicker. But yeah, in terms of pillager spawn rates, this is still not quite where we want it to be. Like I said, we don't want it to be too fast, but we also don't want it to be unbearably slow like it is right now. So let's do a little bit of expansion here. Okay, we've got a raid in progress, and it seems to be going pretty well so far. In a second or two, these guys should realize they want to pathfind. They should split up a little bit. There we go, and you'll see them all start to take to the water streams. A couple of them are bobbing up and down. A couple of the pillagers might end up getting caught in the lava there, but that should be fine. I think when they jostle for position like that, it's a little bit more difficult for them to fall down sometimes. But yeah, if they die in lava, oh well. If they die on the way down here, so much the better. And we're already getting a couple of emeralds here and there, which is totally fine by me. There's another one. Oh, he took a bit of fall damage. The next thing I really want to do is get a couple of hoppers down here. Oh, and it looks like a pillager just spawned in, joined the raid, and is on his way down here as well. So yeah, what I've done so far temporarily is set up a ladder that's going to take me up to roughly the height I need to be to start a raid, and we're going to come up with a more elegant solution to that in time. But for now, it's enough that we can just start and finish a raid in the same place. Okay, and this time we have a Ravager spawning in as part of the raid, and it looks like that might be getting stuck on the trapdoors. Oh, that's slightly irritating. I'm not quite sure what we can do about that, except wait for the Ravager to pathfind around a little bit, because that should cause it to fall down in the trapdoors. But, I don't know. I don't know if that's something we're probably going to have to deal with, I guess. I am slightly worried about what happens if we try and shoot this Ravager, though. I don't want it to get in contact with the villager at all, so we're going to have to do our best to get it down into the pit, like so, and yep, there we go. Okay, so now it should take lava damage, and that should be taken care of nice and easily. So back down here, I should be able to, if it's going to drop the saddle, it'll end up in here as well. There we go, and the saddle ended up... Oh, okay, we're going to need to widen out a platform of hoppers in the middle here then, because some of the drops are also falling down around the outside here. That's something to bear in mind, but got plenty of hoppers, that's not the problem. What is the problem is making sure Ravagers can pathfind over that set of trapdoors. This wave in particular is going to be a kind of significant test, because there might be an Evoker spawning as part of this raid. We're already getting a couple of Vindicators coming down here with the Pillagers. And yeah, we do need to, like I said, make it slightly better for the pillagers to not all get trapped up at the top there, but I think a few of them are falling after taking damage, and it's mostly the pillagers that are doing that right now. It looks like the Evoker might have burnt up in the lava as well, which on the one hand I'm kind of fine with. On the other hand, it might be kind of nice to get Totems of Undying every now and again. Here they come. This is wave 5 or 6 of the raid, potentially. I'm not quite sure, but we should have a couple of Evokers with this wave. They usually start sprinting around this time. Yes, there we go. We took that Evoker out in one hit. That's kind of ideal, just so they don't spawn any more Vexes. So yeah, we should hopefully have no problems with those guys in this setup. Seems like they are a little bit weaker than the Vindicators as well, which is good. The Vindicators are meant to be the tough guys. The Evokers are the spellcasters, so naturally they're a little bit more squishy. This is potentially a problem, though. When the witches drink a fire resistance potion and they end up getting caught in the lava, they do take a while to fall. They will kind of bob out of the lava stream and then fall down. And we have one pillager left here who just hasn't done any pathfinding yet, which, yeah, I figure sooner or later he will. There we go. Finally. Man, it takes that guy a while. And if I'm any judge, this should be one of the final waves of the raid. This is either wave 6 or wave 7. We should get 1 or 2 Ravagers with this one, and it looks like we are getting 2. Okay, so this should be the final wave. This is the last one we need to worry about. And the Evoker has already started summoning Vexes. I have a feeling they might be aimed at the villager up there, so that could potentially be a problem. And yep, he's definitely trying to snap at me a little bit down here. Oh gosh, we've ended in defeat. It looks like they might have killed the villager. Okay, well, this is part of the troubleshooting process, I guess. Back to the drawing board. The one piece of good news from this is that I think we have a pretty optimal area for the spawning of pillagers. It's not been too many, it's not been too few. We have a short enough wait that I think we can probably deal with it to get the bad omen, and then once the waves of the raid start spawning, they all do seem to spawn on this platform up here, and we don't seem to find any pillagers really interfering all that much with the waves of the raid. But we are going to have to do a little bit of work to make sure that Ravagers can step off of these trapdoors and into this central section here, which they didn't seem to have too much trouble with. I think it was just that one landed on the outer ring of trapdoors here, and that presented a bit of a problem. As long as they just sort of drop straight down, that's fine, but if they decide to pathfind off of here, that's when it starts to become a problem. So that's something we need to take into account. This platform is now 6 blocks wide with the grass, by the way, and it should be an adequate area for spawning of pillagers. I have taken off the corners there just to make sure that we don't end up with a pillager spawning all the way out here in this corner and not being able to track towards the villager in the middle. Not that we have a villager in the middle right now. And I think I have a solution for that, by the way. We're going to take out the workstation from here and just have one villager stood in here with no workstation, so he doesn't technically count as part of the village, or he's not the mob that triggers the raid. And we should have a villager a little bit further down with a workstation who is going to be the target of the raid. So hopefully when evokers and stuff spawn up here, they shouldn't immediately target this villager. They should all make their way towards the village center. That is my hope, at least. Crossing my fingers for that one, because otherwise we're going to need to have some serious protection for the villagers who are up here. Hey folks, welcome back. So I just had to sleep on this. I needed a little bit of time and energy to refresh myself, so this is the following day, and I have now made a couple of changes to this based on some testing I was doing in a creative mode test world. So I've moved the entire villager cell and this platform up here up 1 block, so that if a ravager with a rider ends up rising up in the lava there, it's not going to enter the same area as the villager, because I found that riders with ravagers could actually float up through the bottom of this area with the villager in and attack the villager like normal. So that's going away for a start. Second of all, we have removed the row of trapdoors around the inner ring of here to stop ravagers from ending up like balancing on the edge of those. They now all fall straight down into the water, get carried into the lava, and they burn up. The next thing we're going to do is move in 2 villagers, one there and one a little bit further down. And around this villager in the center, we are going to be placing some boats to trap Vexes, mostly as a security measure, because sporadically it's not quite 100% guaranteed whether they will or not, but evokers will sometimes target that villager once they fall off the platform up here, and that means that the evoker is going to summon some Vexes. The Vexes are going to attack the villager, and the villager might end up dying. So we need a bit of anti-Vex security around the top of here, and that's why I'm going to be placing a few boats on each of the corners just to trap the Vexes. Each boat can, of course, hold up to 2 Vexes, and after a while being trapped in there, they will just die and despawn. So hopefully that should protect the villager up here while still allowing it to be seen by all of the pillagers that are going to be spawning around the outside. Down at the bottom of the world here is where we are going to be housing our second villager, and that villager is actually going to be down here underneath the central platform, so that the pillagers and stuff will still spawn and get directed straight into the center here. Otherwise they will end up spawning on the platform around the outside, which is not such a bad thing, but it's kind of nice to have everything centered, and that platform above the villager in the center is where they're all going to be spawning. So I feel like that's kind of a neat way to do it. We are going to move this whole platform down a few blocks, though, because the pillagers and other raid mobs have health roughly equal to that of a witch, and as we'll remember from the witch farm, we needed to install a much larger fall for the witches to really take as much damage as they needed to get to a single hit, and that is going to be ideal for defending us against evokers in the long run. So potentially, yeah, we need to make sure that they are falling roughly 30 blocks to get to 1 hit, probably cap out at like 29. Right now we are 23 blocks or less below the surface, so we kind of need to make sure this goes down another 6 or 7 blocks in order for it to be an accurate amount. And remember, I think that platform there is just below sea level, so I think we're probably going to need to dig down to maybe about Y34, 33, somewhere around that level. So yeah, gonna do a bit of digging, gonna reorient this, probably will add in some more hoppers around the outside, still all directing into this barrel, but I think the rest of this is still going to remain much as it is right now. The main task at this point is going to be getting 2 more villagers, and I really do hope that the village over there in the distance has 2 villagers left for me to get, because we've already got 1, and I didn't see all that many others while I was there. So we need 1 villager up here, 1 villager down at the bottom of the world underneath the drop down there to make sure it's centered in the farm. But I think we should hopefully be able to manage that. If not, we will have to go further afield to find them, but there's no time like the present. Let's go and find us some villagers. Luckily for me, I found at at least one more villager, so let's try and get him down into this section down here to make sure that he's going to be our main villager rather than being the bait up here. Let's try and get him out onto this little platform. Should have a water drop down the bottom that he can drop into nice and safely. There we go, he's in, and he's survived. Perfect. Okay, I had to really block him off here to get him down there, but he's in, and now we can set up this little section down here that he is going to be perfectly safe in at the bottom of the world, making sure that we can have a raid trigger whenever we are standing on this platform here, ready to receive the mobs. So hopefully by using more or less the same technique, convincing him it is possible to walk over that trapdoor, we should be able to convince this guy to head down into the area we have marked out for him down here. Let's see if we can just nudge him into this spot behind him. There we go. Yep, perfect. He's hit the ladder. He's on his way down. Great stuff. So down here underneath this barrel is where we're going to have him, and the barrel is probably going to act as his workstation right now, unless we put down maybe a cartography table or something like that. Oh, we just got a pillager in the trap. I guess I am a little bit lower than the platform up there. Come on, buddy. Let's see if we can get you installed in your new home. Yep, looks like he's in there already. We've got a cartography table right there in front of him. Let's put a trapdoor above that there. Yep, there we go. And he is a cartographer now, so he didn't even choose the barrel as his workstation. Went straight back to being a cartographer. Great stuff. Okay, so this guy is now all safe in here. We should be able to close this up. I've got a torch behind there to make sure nothing bad happens to him. He doesn't get a zombie spawning in there with him or anything like that. And I guess around here is where we can start putting the new platform for all of the pillagers to fall down into. And with that guy safely installed down at the bottom there and the drop shaft extended, we will need one more villager to go back in the center of the farm and act as bait. And hopefully this time he will have a slightly better chance of survival. We'll see. But first, back over to the village and let's see if we can find ourselves another villager. Here we go, got one guy hanging out at the edge of the village. I just had to save them from the night because of zombies and stuff, but it looks like we do have a second chance at getting this farm up and running. So we'll take this cleric guy over there. I have a feeling he's probably going to lose his profession before long, but no worries. We'll get him safely installed in the center of the farm, and he will be our guard against vexes and bait for the pillagers. Let's see how this goes. Okay, this guy is sort of in here, sort of. I do need to grab a piston or something. I don't have a piston in my redstone box right now, so I'm going to need to go and get one of those. But we do need to make sure that he has 5 snow layers around him, just like before, on each side. And then around the outside here, we're going to do something a little bit different. We are going to be placing some boats around the outside there, and probably on the other 2 corners as well. And we're going to be stacking those up to make sure that vexes will get trapped in them anytime they try and fly over here. Now, if only the guy would just move a couple of pixels to the left there, we might actually be able to get him into a 1x1 space. But not to worry, we'll get that sorted out in the next little while. So I'm going to make as many boats as I possibly can and place them around the outside here. The trick, of course, being to put them as close to the edge of a block as possible so this villager doesn't accidentally get in one from the corner here, because I have a feeling that if we ended up looking at the hitboxes here, yeah, hopefully the villager shouldn't end up being able to get into one of these boats through the corner. Otherwise, he is going to end up getting targeted by pillagers and die pretty quickly. But here's hoping we should be able to get a few more boats around the outside, and that should allow us to trap any vexes that arrive to attack the villager in the middle here, and that should mean he is fairly safe from any attacks from evokers. Fingers crossed. Okay, he's in. He's in. I did end up having to punch him to get him in there, but just a light tap, and I'm sure he will be okay. In the long run, the whole idea is to make sure that he is perfectly safe inside of there, and the stone block, unfortunately, has to be there because I have run out of white glass. The entire thing would look slightly odd, but no worries. We're just going to deal with it, I guess. So trapdoor here and here, probably another one there and there as well, and we should be able to fit 8 boats total around the outside of this villager, making sure he is safe. And fingers crossed he doesn't end up getting into one of these, otherwise we are going to have some problems. He's not going to move around all that much once he's in that 1x1 space though, so I think this should be okay. He's not going to be getting in and out of beds, he's not going to be pathfinding to and from a workstation. I think we'll be okay. I can still see him in there, which is a good sign. We could always trap him in a minecart or something, I guess, but then that changes the line of sight to all of the pillagers who are going to be spawning around the outside here, and there's a chance they might not be able to target him and walk into this pit in the middle. I have done a bit of testing, and it does seem like they should be able to walk off with just 1 row of trapdoors around the outside here. That's my main concern, though, is that they get stuck on the edge here. They're targeting towards the villager, but they don't end up walking off into here. However, once the raid starts, we shouldn't have any problems with that at all, because the raiders will all try and walk towards the village center, which is actually now down here underground with our second villager. So I think with that setup, we are all good to go here. I'll get my spectator account back in to see if we can record a little bit more footage from the top of the farm and troubleshoot anything else that goes wrong, but chances are we should have this all set up and ready to go. Okay, one thing that is becoming very obvious to me is that pillagers are very much part of the same hostile mob cap as everyone else. Did I just see one of them shoot the guy in the center? I really hope not. Anyway, let's see if we can get down here and see if one of those guys had the Bad Omen banner, because, yeah, I did not see very many pillagers spawning at all until I flew up into the air and then came back down here to find a ton of them spawning. So I'm pretty sure there are some caves around here that are affecting the spawn rates for our pillagers, and unfortunately it looks like none of the ones with the Bad Omen banner have actually made their way down here, which is a shame, but oh, I think I just heard the villager who is under here activate his workstation, so that at least means that the villager under there is working, which is good because he's kept his profession despite being underground. As long as he can work on that cartography table, then that's going to mean we get ourselves a village that counts as a village. And I have to go and refill my fireworks real quick because I am in danger of running out, otherwise may as well put the redstone box away in there while we're at it. And hopefully when we fly back in the direction of the farm over here, we should start to see a few more pillagers spawn. Yep, there's plenty there. Wow, okay. Hopefully we will get a pillager captain before long, and then we'll be able to see if the rest of this farm works. We are getting the occasional pillager dying of full damage, but I think that's after they've taken a bit of damage in the lava. After that, they seem to have no problem dying in one hit, which means we've at least got the height of this thing right to get them within a single hit's worth of damage, and that's a very good thing. I'm going to keep flying up into the air to get the farm working, because it does seem like any of the caves around here are going to be affecting the pillager spawn rate, which is both a good and a bad thing. It's a good thing because, of course, we don't want any pillagers to spawn during the raid, but it's a bad thing to get the raid started in the first place, and it's definitely going to be a case of finding a balance between the two. All these pillagers down here, still not one captain, but at least they're all dying in one hit, so that's a good thing. Oh dear, it looks like our other villager did end up dying. Did he end up getting in one of the boats then? Oh, that's so difficult to tell at this point, but yeah, it seems like our main bait villager seems to have died in the center of the farm. Oh dear. Oh well, okay, we'll probably have to find ourselves another villager then. This is it's so painful getting all of this stuff set up, but hopefully in the fullness of time we should have something. Let's quickly see if... Oh, that guy must have fallen down my trapdoor. Let's see if we have a pillager down here with a banner. Unfortunately, we don't have a pillager down here with a banner. All we have is a couple of guys who I can just dispatch with a single swing of the sword. And now I need to go and find myself another villager. In the meantime, of course, we could still check that the raid portion of this raid farm is working, but for that to happen, we would need to get a guy with a banner, and as of right now, it seems like we don't have too many of those. I don't think the banner really counts as part of their hitbox or anything, so I don't think the increased height would make it a problem, and they'd be burning in the lava prematurely, but... I don't know at this point. It's kind of difficult to tell. One solution to that, though, is to snipe the guy before he even ends up going into the center of the farm. So let's see if we can take out that guy at the back there. Of course, he's hiding himself behind his friends. And once I get down the trapdoor, which is, yeah, located conveniently on the opposite side of this arena, we should at least be able to try out the raid portion of the farm. And I can switch to the camera account to show you guys if any of this is working correctly. Now, we already have two pillagers down here at the bottom of the farm. The raid wave has started. We should be able to dispatch those with a single swipe of the sword. And now, let's take a look with the spectator account at where the raid mobs spawn. Okay, we got one guy who's picked up a captain's banner, and he is going to make his way down into the farm as well. Either that or he's going to burn up, which should give us an interesting insight into whether or not the captains are more likely to burn in the lava right now. Nope, there we go. He is down there in the system. And the cool thing about this, of course, is that the pillagers will mimic the action of any pillager during the raid and will make their way into the village center. So they don't rely on the villager there in the middle for their pathfinding. And now, with this next wave of the raid spawning, we should start to see a few of them coming down here. Yes, we do. Dispatched with a single hit, some of them taking a bit of damage in the lava first, so that's fine. And yeah, they are still getting stuck in the water streams a little bit, but that ultimately just means they get a couple of hits in the lava and they get taken care of by that. One last pillager coming on down. And we should be able to dispatch him nice and quickly, and the raid can refresh for its second wave. The second wave is spawned in and is killing itself in the lava. This is just one of the Pillager and Vindicator waves, so it's really not going to cause us that much trouble. In fact, that guy is basically, yeah, he's dead on arrival, more or less. Let's see what Wave 3 has to offer, though. This one's got a Ravager, and the Ravager should make its way into the center and start burning up in the lava. It's backing its way in, look at that. And I think a couple of the witches might potentially drink fire resistance potions, but one of them ends up down here and is a one-hit kill. The Ravager is dying up top now, and a few of the other raiders, more than I expected actually, seem to be dying in the lava. So I'm not sure how we can position that lava otherwise, but it seems like the Ravagers are kind of pushing some of the others up into the lava at this point. We still got a few emeralds, we still got a couple of things from the last waves of the raid that came through here, but I think we might have to make a couple of adjustments still. We still have a couple of raiders left in this wave, and I'm not quite sure how they've done this, but looking at them on my camera account, it seems like a couple of the raiders have gotten stuck underneath there. Is there... Oh gosh, the two water streams are actually flowing together, so it's kind of rare, but it's almost like they've spawned up here, if anything, because I really don't see how they can have got stuck there in the first place. Those are kind of underneath the overhang that we set up down there in the first place. So hopefully that shouldn't be too much of a problem. I think it might just be natural pillager spawning at this point. But yeah, this farm is showing its flaws at this point, and while this has been a fun experiment, I feel like we really could end up with a better farm design if we do a little bit of research here. Yeah, we just killed an evoker. We just killed an evoker in one shot. That is brilliant, and I'm very, very happy about that fact. Otherwise, we could potentially have been struggling with those guys for a little while, especially considering that the witches can throw resistance potions on them occasionally, and it looks like we are good. A couple of those guys did end up dying in the lava, but we have a totem of undying. We got 15 emeralds so far, which is really not a bad haul. There is a bit of a problem where they bunch up at the entrance to the drop down here, so I might have to work on that and make that slightly better as well. The glass panes are not quite doing what I want them to do, which is a shame, but overall, I think this is the last wave of this raid, and the villager underneath here has been perfectly safe this entire time. So as long as we can figure out some sort of solution to fixing the problem with the villager on the surface being able to take damage, we should be just fine. And is that it? That's it! Raid over! Victory! We've won! And in theory, that could be a raid farm. Obviously, we still need to work out how we can best protect the villager in the middle of the farm, the guy we're using as bait in here, because yeah, he is definitely being targeted by the other guys. I did reduce the snow layers down to 4, but mainly because some of the other pillagers around here that were spawning in did not seem to be targeting him at all. They weren't even running towards him. They couldn't even see he was there. So we might need to camouflage him a little better, and it seems like some of the boats around here have been displaced by those Ravagers floating up in the lava. So yeah, maybe we can come up with some other sort of solution, or maybe just keep the boats a block higher. And I think that one of the villager might even have got out into one of those boats just by intersecting with the hitbox on the corner. So that's something to keep an eye on. But folks, I think I'm probably going to call it there. It's been a troubleshooting episode, and we don't do those all that often here because a lot of the time I have the tutorial prepared. But these raid farms are such a new thing, and I don't really want to go ahead and copy somebody else's work on this front. But, you know, we might have to if we want something that's going to be super efficient and something you guys are going to be able to rely on for farming these resources in future. But I hope you've enjoyed these episodes anyway. We're going to be back to the trading hall, I think. We're going to leave the raid farm for now and maybe work a little bit more on getting some friendly pillagers, but that's going to be it from me. My name has been Pixlriffs. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, don't forget to leave a like on it, subscribe if you want to see more, and I'll see you guys soon. Take care. Bye for now.